And we're back. Welcome, guys, and welcome. Oh my God, I can't even do the introduction right. It's been one of those days. Welcome back to the Eagle Eye Podcast. This is episode 11. My name is Ivan, and as always, I'm introducing my co host, Mr. Dylan Jimenez. Dylan, how are you?
Doing good, man. Always doing good here in the great state of Texas.
All righty. All right. Well, good to see you. Good to have you back. Always a pleasure and always exciting as always to get here and talk everything Las Águilas del América. But before I go any further, I just want to give a huge shout out to every single one of you guys who tune in, who maybe not even catch the live show, but always do end up coming into the our iTunes and our SoundCloud as well, who listen to us on the go. So thank you so much for every single one of you guys who have supported this podcast. And without further ado, let's jump into today's show. We got a packed show. I think it's gonna be a wonderful show. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. We have Leon game to talk about. We're gonna break that down and see exactly how it is that we walk away with a 2-0 game win, but yet we still feel like the team let us down. We're also going to be talking about a little bit about what happened last week against Stauro FC in the Estadio Azteca, and we're also going to be previewing exactly what might happen tomorrow, as we do have Concachampions to take care of. And as well, we're going to close off the podcast with none other than the preview to the Toluca matchup as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And we're going to have a quick little Q&A as we did last episode. So make sure if you guys have any questions in mind, make sure you guys let us know via Twitter or via YouTube as well if you guys are watching live. So without further ado, Dylan, let's get into the action. So Saturday night, America played against Leon, and really a matchup that maybe could have looked better on our end, but we do end up getting the 3 points. America walks out with a 2-0 victory. We're at home. The crowd seems to have showed up a little bit more. What is your overall take of this game once we do get all 3 points, once the final whistle blows?
I was happy, man. Finally see a W and 3 points. We don't have to worry about keeping those draws going. But it was a pretty good performance. I think a little overall for the team. I think the team played fairly well together as a team. I think these rotations kind of have us messed up a little bit. With since we're not playing a full strength of a squad that we haven't been seeing in the beginning of the season. But yeah, it's still rolling. We're still going, and I'm just glad to see that we actually walk away with a W instead of a draw this time.
Yeah, I think all of us pretty much in the end were kind of happy that we actually got a W instead of a draw. But ultimately, I think the team lacked a little bit of creativity going forward. I think we lacked a lot of passion and drive. There was a couple players maybe. I get it. Like you mentioned, the whole rotation thing. Maybe it's gotten us on the lower part because we're seeing that some of these players are fatigued. They're a little tired. They aren't really pushing themselves as much as they would have. Maybe it's because they're conserving themselves because they know that we're getting back. We're getting to the grind of the season, which is going to be the most toughest part of it yet. And especially the way we have to close things out. But ultimately, I think the result was a favorable one. I think it was a good one. I think the performance though lacked a lot. And I even Pio Herrera said it himself. He said, hey, this was a performance that I did not like, that I think the players should have done better, that we can do better, and we will do better. So hopefully, in that aspect, things will definitely improve. I want to ask you though, what actually stood out to you in this matchup? What actually stood out to you in this game?
What stood out to me a little bit, maybe actually, be kind of not necessarily a surprise for a lot of people, but I thought Edson did pretty good. I thought Edson had a good game, like Edson doing Edson things. Maybe he did had a little bit of trouble a little bit because I feel like he doesn't really got that quality of a start, especially yet have not necessarily a bad season, but he's actually had his struggles too a little bit as we've seen against that Pachuca game and everything. So I mean, it just stood out to me. The defense stood out a little bit to me, But like you said, just that creativity going forward. So that's something we missed, and kind of like you said too, and you mentioned to me after the game. You could tell that Renato Ibarra was missed a lot in the midfield.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe we should go. We should break this down. That's with what happened in the lineup first before we get into the grand scheme of everything. So it was Marchesín in goal. It was Paul Aguilar on the right. It was Carlos Vargas on the left. It was center back partnership between Bruno Valdez and Edson Alvarez. In the midfield, you saw Guido Rodriguez with William de Silva, and on the wides, you saw Mateus Uribe on the right, and on the left, Cecilio Dominguez up top, Jeremy Menez, and Oribe Peralta. Um, when we talked about this lineup on the emergency pod, we said that we liked it. We thought that this was the ideal lineup, especially knowing that you're gonna have a Mateus Uribe play out on the right hand side. I think we saw him do a very good job in that Morelia game where he ends up scoring 2 goals. Funny enough, plays in the same position, but and ends up getting 2 goals as well. Although I want to bring it up, do you really think that he is a better player playing out wide than he is in the midfield with Guido?
I think so, but then again, you kind of have to get to what Piojo is trying to look for whenever he lines them up too as well. So I mean, if it's in a situation where you really want Uribe in the midfield, like in the middle with Guido, then like yeah, I mean, I think he can get the job done there either way. But I'd prefer him out wide because we actually get to see that creativity from Uribe too, and also we see him create those chances, and like you said, those 2 goals against Morelia, and again. I had 2 goals this past Saturday, so I like to see him out wide a little bit more. But at the same time, I get it, why Piojo would want to play him next to Guido too as well.
So you say that you prefer to have Guido out on the wide, correct?
Yeah,
Now, here's the thing though. Who do you play in the midfield with Guido? And has Mateus Uribe done enough to take Renato Ibarra's spot?
no, I mean I don't think Mateus Uribe has done enough to take Renato Ibarra's spot, because I think we haven't seen him play enough there as much as Renato has, and Renato's been having a great season, and that's something me and you've always talked about is him having a great season right there on the right side. Merritt, though, like I get why, Piojo would want to see him there a little bit more, but to be honest, I don't think it necessarily merits him the starting spot on the right away. I don't think he's gonna overtake Renato Ibarra unless something like were to happen, like say the worst, Ibarra goes down for like the rest of the season or something like that. But I think, in my opinion, Piojo's good to start him where he thinks he's going to perform the best. And granted, yeah, I said it. I think he performs the best out wide, but in the end, I think he's going to be starting next to Guido a lot more, unless something happens to Renato.
You know what? I want to bring something up, and I know this is maybe something very contradicting to what a lot of people would think, but I think Mateus Uribe's best games are performed through that middle of the park with Guido Rodriguez. And I say this, and I know a lot of people are going to point out and say, look, against Morelia, he scores 2 goals in that position. Against Leons, he scores that same position. In that same position, he scores those 2 goals. But if you notice, in this own matchup, Guido Rodriguez scores both goals in not a wide position. The first goal comes off kind of a mistake. Jeremy Menez tries to, I guess, shoot the ball low enough. Yarbrough slips and tries to parry the ball away, and Mateus Uribe is there and runs up and just kind of shoots that ball into the corner. That, yes, he was in that position maybe because he was playing on the wide, but he has a tendency to run up a lot. He has a tendency to kind of move forward and get into those positions where you would normally see a winger or a attacker. And he does that very well, even in that center mid position. And if you notice the second goal, he isn't playing right mid at that point. He's actually a center mid because of what the tactical change that Piojo did. He moves Mateus Uribe in that position, so Paulo Aguilar is able to then pass it to him, and then we see, of course, the rocket of a shot that he gives us, of course. So I think he's better off in that center mid position. He's more kind of a center mid who has the freedom to be a center attacking mid, which is amazing because Guido Rodriguez gives you that liberty to be that set player, because of course he's going to be able to cover as much as the pitch as possible. He basically does the work of 2 people, which is why why Mateus was able to do that. So I think I think if we're being honest, I think Mateus Uribe for me in general, and maybe a lot of people as well listening to this would agree with me that he is better off in that midfield position with Guido Rodriguez, and keeping Renato Ibarra out wide is the better option. Although, don't get me wrong, Mateus Uribe can definitely play in that position. He looks comfortable, he looks creative, and naturally that's where he's wanted to play. But I think he's fit in this role much better, and I would prefer him to be and stay in that role.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. I'm just saying too, like, I just don't think he easily takes over Renato's spot. I think Renato still starts there regardless. But I'm just saying, like, we see him as this versatile player that can play that position. So I think regardless, he's gonna thrive wherever Piojo puts him, whether it be next to Guido or if it's gonna be out wide, right there in the right mid spot. And so it's just interesting to see how it goes forward, especially with us still having to deal with Concachampions, it'd be interesting to see how much he gets playing time out there if Miguel Herrera makes that rotation and puts him out there that wide.
No, yeah, I agree. Um, so I think we can definitely say that he was definitely the better player in that matchup. I think if you think of a player that performed his best, I think maybe it was probably Guido. I mean, no, excuse me, Guido. It was probably Mateus Uribe.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Okay, so I think should we award the Eagle Eye podcast man of the match to Guido Rodriguez this week? I mean, no, not Guido. Why
No,
do I
I
keep
was gonna
saying
say white
Guido?
Guido. I was about to say not Guido. That's what I was thinking too. I was about to say, I don't know about Guido. You could give it to him, but I was gonna give it to Mateus Uribe.
So give it to Mateus Uribe, and I think I know why I have Guido in my mind, and I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that he's earned it. No.
Yeah, no doubt, man. He obviously worked for it, and he worked this week, and we've seen it. You know, his play. It's a good signing. I think who was it? Was either Monterrey or Tigres were linked with him before he signed with America.
Tigres, yeah.
Yeah, Tigres. Yeah. So I mean, regardless, I don't know how much Tigres would have used him, but Tigres missed out on a good player. We got the good end of the stick in the end.
Yeah, we definitely did. I like. I think he's doing a fantastical. Look, I can't even say words correctly. A fantastic job. I apologize to all of you guys listening and thinking this guy's rambling on. I'm not. This has been a long day. Alrighty, so um, let me flip the question around here now. Who do you think had his worst performance in an America jersey against Leon?
I didn't really like Menez the way Menez was playing a little bit. I just feel like he wasn't giving us that much of that creativity. Kind of like what we said, like overall the team wasn't giving that creativity. But I feel like it was Menez who stood out the most that really didn't give that much that I was looking for from the whole squad going forward.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think it was Menace, but ultimately, I mean, I even tweeted this out during the halftime. During halftime, it just seemed like there was a lack of creativity, maybe even a lack of motivation. It was a very dull game at points. It was very back and forth. Obviously, we get the goal, but really, it's not exactly what you would like to see. This is a matchup that we said we got to go out there, we got to prove, we got to demonstrate why we're undefeated, why we're the best team, and this and that. And the boys kind of just showed up and said, "All right, I'm here to play. Let's see what happens." I mean, granted, I think the only reason why we saw a matchup like that was probably because Leon wasn't really up for the challenge because they weren't really looking to make it such a contest for us, especially because of all the injuries that they had. But even then, they had some pretty good opportunities themselves. So I mean, someone says that Paul Aguilar was the worst player. What's your thoughts on that?
I thought Aguilar was okay. I mean, just like you said, just the whole team didn't play that well together. Could it be due to the fact of the rotations? Could it be due to the fact that everybody's tired and lack of motivation? Like that's just something that you could just judge on yourself and judge on your own. To me, Menes stood out to me as not being the best player on the pitch. I kind of wish that we saw Menes off a little sooner. Was he subbed off? I can't remember exactly if he was subbed off. I think
Yeah,
he was.
he
Yeah, he was.
was.
Yeah,
I'll let
I
you
mean, I just wish he was subbed off a little sooner than what he was. To me, I think Aguilar played okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Menace was substituted in minute 75.
Yeah, it goes back to what I always say too. Is see substitutions. That hurt us in the end. Because let's say we're not winning the game at this point. Let's say we're still drawing. We're still drawing at 0-0 or something. It's just something like that I wish Piojo would kind of see better. Like when these players aren't performing, let's put on a player that's gonna perform or something like Henry Martin. I feel like Henry Martin, if he would have got subbed on, we would have seen him stood out and play. Because he has something to prove now. Because it's been a while since we've actually seen this kid perform well.
That's true. I think let me first touch upon the subject about Menace. I think Menace was ultimately for me the worst player on the pitch. He's I don't know what happens. I don't want to say he's lost the spark because I feel like we haven't really seen the best Menace yet. He's looked a little bit dull. I don't know exactly what's going on. He could still obviously he's still adapting to everything. To the altura, to the team, to the environment, all that stuff. And granted, he's still going there, but he's had a good long time already. You know, it's kind of when are we going to see the best Menace? And I think Johnny said that we won't see the best Menace until next season. And granted, that could be a possibility, but you still want to see something out of this guy because this is a guy that was scoring a couple goals, that was making good plays, that seemed to be kind of the motor of the team when needed. And now it looks like he's just kind of even his first touch is looking pretty horrible at some points of the match. He has time to play the easy ball. He has time to pick up his head. He has time to look for the open player. And even though he does that, it looks like he's still thinking 1 or 2 or 3 seconds later, and maybe he's overthinking the play. Which what do you think is going on? Why is it that he's being like this? Why do you think he's maybe struggling a little bit more than we expected him to after the start he had?
I don't really think he's still yet at 100. To me, from where we first judged that where he was at whenever he made his debut, I feel like he's gone down a little bit. I don't think he really merits all of these starts that he's been getting so far. I feel like he should be more on the bench in a little bit. So I feel like a little bit that Piojo is pressured to use him in a sense because he's trying to get a sense that like, hey, we got our Frenchman too. So let's go out and show what he's got. And he hasn't shown nothing yet. And, in the end, I feel like it's hurting us in the long run a little bit because we see this formation change a little bit too, with Mendes playing behind, whether it be Oribe Pelata or Henry Martin. And so, that formation is hurting us too whenever we could still be sticking with this 4-4-2 in the end and getting the results that we can get because the 4-4-2 has been working for us and we really haven't seen the 4-2-3-1 really working for us that much.
Yeah, I think you talked about this. It's that formation that doesn't help us because we don't have a striker that works off just being alone. Granted, Oribe can do it, but he's in his later stages now. It looks like he's doing more of the Menace role than dropping back, receiving the ball deep inside, trying to push up with it, trying to make the plays happen. And if he's doing that and Menace is down, exactly what exactly is going on? Who's going to be our striker? So I think in that end, like I told you, and I think we talked about it too. Henry Martin is not a striker yet that can play on his own. He needs someone to feed off of as well. So that formation is hurting us. Having Menace on the pitch and not having some alternative to that, it really is a bother because we should be able to play Menace and still have a great squad that can compete and that can look great on the pitch. So that's frustrating. I want to touch up on the whole Paulo Aguilar red card thing because there was a lot of people, mad at him for the red card. My question to you is: do you think it merited a red card? His challenge.
I don't think so. I was, as you know, I was at the bar, so I really couldn't show my frustrations.
Yeah.
for that. So no, well, I got frustrated with that, man. So it's something that I don't want to see. It's something that the player that can be so good. Arguably one of the best right backs in the Liga MX right now, and you see him get a red card like that. in all honesty, too, it was a little bit of a silly challenge. That's which something you don't ever want to see, and it's just those silly challenges that can hurt you in the long run too. And instead of seeing a yellow, we see a straight red instead.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people who think it could either be one or the other. I could see why the referee gives a red card, and I can see why he would not give a red card. Why that challenge could easily be a yellow. It really was a coin flip at the end of the day. Paul Aguilar, got the wrong end of the stick this time. He gets the red card, and because of that, the match changes dramatically for us because easily with Paul Aguilar still on the pitch, I think we could have seen Henry Martin and maybe even Diego Lainez come on. But because of that, now Pio Herrera needs to, scramble and kind of change his tactics in order to secure this victory. Because, of course, you never know what could happen at a late stage like that. So that's why you see in the 75-minute minutes coming off for Orreantia and then so on and so forth.
Which is something good, kind of what you point out. Piojo adapted to this. So you see Piojo make the necessary tactical change that he needed to keep this clean sheet, to keep the 2-1, the 2-0 lead, which he did. And that's something that I want to see with Piojo every time, is to adapt to what you see on the pitch, regardless if we're a man down, or regardless if the other team's down, even 11v11. That's something that I want to see, is Piojo adapting and changing his tactics as the game goes along to help better the team.
Yeah, I think he did what he needed to do. As soon as the red card came out, I think all of us who had hope that we were going to see Diego Lainez come off the bench, I think at that point our hopes died with that red card because, of course, like I mentioned, Pio Herrera had to make all those substitutions, had to tweak all those formations, which meant there was no room for Lainez to come in. There wasn't even room for Henry Martin to come in. So, I mean, granted, it's a little bitter there, but I mean, ultimately, we get the 3 points, we get the victory. Obviously, there's a lot that we still want to work on, but I mean, if you could take away one thing from this match besides the win, besides the 3 points, what do you take away?
We scored more than one goal. I feel like we kind of Mateus Uribe was the only person that brought his shooting boots. I got his brace. I wish we finally see this guy score a hat trick. But sadly we haven't yet, and so I'm still waiting for that day that Mateus Uribe scores a hat trick.
That day will be fun. It's gonna be an interesting game on Sunday, which we'll get to the preview a little bit later on the show. But like I mentioned, no Pablo Aguilar is gonna be there. That's the one thing I take away from this is that even in his not so great match, we still see a very good, decent Guido Rodriguez on the pitch. He wasn't the same Guido. He wasn't the Guido that was, doing all this, tackles and all this stuff. Because there was times in the game, I think that he messed up on some passes, or maybe was a little bit off positioning. But even, I think it has to do with mostly with fatigue. But even, not the best Guido still did a lot of work. I think this is a Guido maybe like at 70%. Then he still managed to cover spaces, to do things well. And I think that's my one takeaway from this game, is that we have someone in the midfield, someone that I think we have lacked for years now. I want to say years now, that no real solid midfielder. And he's come in and he's taken over the role. And even in a game where he doesn't shine, or he doesn't do his utmost best, he still is able to kind of carry the team on the shoulder in that sense and say, I still somewhat got you guys.
Yeah, man. I agree with you on that. The fatigue, I think, is carrying the team. With traveling too. With this Concachampions, Champions. You can see it affecting the team too as well. But Guido's work rate is always going to be high no matter what. And Guido covering the ground, is something that we need in the team, and he's doing a great job at it. Even with him looking tired and stuff like that. Like you said, he's not making the tackles. His passes are off a little bit. Still, he knows he's got work to do, and he's gonna continue to work no matter what.
Yep. Well, pretty much to wrap up the review, I think ultimately, if we need to summarize this, it's good 3 points, a not so good performance, and I think we definitely, we can say that our depth is definitely coming in hand so far into the season. So ultimately, those three things I think is what we take away from this. Anything else you want to add on?
No, I'm good, man. I think we covered everything.
So let us know what do you guys think about the Leon game. Do you guys think we missed something out? Before we go and talk about Concachampions, I think we should talk a little bit about Diego Lainez and the situation going on with him. A lot of people, and I'm speaking to those of you on Twitter. A lot of people are saying Diego Lainez needs to leave America and Diego Lainez needs to get some game time somewhere else. That it's absolutely at this point, it's kind of like Mission Impossible. You need to break out Diego Lainez. Do you think it's gotten to that point? Do you think it's that bad of a season that we need to that Diego Lainez maybe is thinking, I need to get out of here?
I don't really think so. Because like I've always told you too, and I've always people hear me on the podcast, and I'll just repeat myself over and over and over, and I'll say it again right now, is that Diego came out and said that he's happy just to be playing his game. He's happy playing with the U20s, but it's gotta suck for the kid because the kid's thinking when he makes these bench appearances that he's possibly gonna have some gaming time, and it sucks for him, and you got to think what the kid's thinking too whenever the game's over and he's still on the bench and he hadn't come off the bench, and so he's itching for some minutes in the first team squad.
No,
He's got
yeah.
to be itching for those minutes, dude.
Yeah,
But
and you know what? The funny thing is though, because I was watching this with my uncle and my dad, the game, and they kind of panned out into the bench, and the subs were warming up, and you just kind of saw Diego Lainez, doing his stretches and all that stuff. But they were joking around. They're like, look, he's not even getting está echando ganas because he knows he's not gonna get on. It's like, and it goes back to what you were saying. You can only imagine what this guy's thinking whenever he gets called up on the bench. You know?
yeah, I mean, going back to I think it was the last pod or 2 pods ago that she said, La Volpe's America is different from Piojo's America now.
Yeah.
Obviously at the time La Volpe played Linus because due to some injuries, and so Linus was the guy to play, and you see this kid play, and you see this guy stand out a lot. You see this kid make some good plays, and we didn't see him a lot in the Apertura because obviously he was with the U17 at the World Cup, and now you see the guy ready for the next step, ready for the next challenge, but yeah, he doesn't get that challenge, and that's what sucks is that he's ready for the challenge too, but he's not given the challenge from Piojo. He's still sitting there waiting to be given the challenge.
You know what? And yes, I agree that it sucks that he's there. And I want to throw out something. This is maybe quote unquote a conspiracy theory, but look, when La Volpe came out with Diego Lainez, everyone kind of hailed him for bringing him out. This kid, 16 years old, giving him his debut. Everyone hailed him like, "Oh my gosh, you're an amazing coach." At that same point, Miguel Herrera had also debuted Carlos Vargas, roughly about the same age, 17 years old. Kid, he was playing starting week in and week out for Cholos. And Pio Herrera kind of got mad, like, hey, why are you guys giving La Volpe the praise when I've done literally the same thing and none of you guys have kind of batted, an eye this way? Obviously, for those of you who already know, there's always been a tension between Piojo and La Volpe. No surprise there, but does Piojo look at Diego Lainez and think La Volpe and kind of maybe his ego, maybe his machismo, maybe, a little bit stubborn in the head because this is a La Volpe player that he debuted, that he thinks, no, I'm not going to play him and give La Volpe the credit. I'm going to play Vargas instead and kind of make myself look like the better coach.
Oh, man, that's a really good point you pointed out. I've never really thought about that.
Because
I mean, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah,
it's true because look, I wouldn't even talk about him, and me and you yesterday were joking about him the whole time. But Carlos Vargas again didn't have a good game. Mm-hmm. Did not have a good game. It looks like he's not looking comfortable in that left back position. He took a free kick for some odd reason that didn't even get close to going into the goal. So it's like. Now I don't want to say why we keep playing him if he hasn't shown anything. He showed good stuff last season. He showed good stuff at the starting of the season. What's going on now? It can factor a whole bunch of different things, but he's not playing his best football. Why wouldn't you give Diego Lainez the opportunity, but you're giving Carlos Vargas all these opportunities when even some of us are thinking, why is Carlos Vargas even on the pitch at this point?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, between your conspiracy theory and which is a great point that I've never really thought about until you brought it up and stuff. But it comes back to America also not addressing the left back position, and obviously, like you said, Piojo gave Carlos Vargas his debut, and Carlos Vargas performed well for Cholos, and then performed well at the beginning of the season too, as like that. And so Piojo actually knows the kid, and I don't know, maybe Piojo doesn't know Lainez as well he does Vargas, and Piojo has the confidence bestowed in Vargas. We see Vargas starting week in and week out until he got that knock. I feel like after he got that injury, what was it, about 3 weeks ago, maybe? Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen him come back for that, and we see William Da Silva go back to left back, which Da Silva, granted,
which he's actually looking all right.
He looks okay in that position, but I think it comes back to as saying that the left back position hadn't been addressed. I feel like Piojo kind of just threw Carlos. I'm like, hey, you played for me last time. You're gonna play for me again, but you're gonna do it in here. And granted, yeah, like you said, we've seen Carlos Vargas have some good moments in the left back position, but and again, I don't feel like he's still comfortable regardless of those good games that he's had.
Yeah, I think we're still yet to see the best of Vargas. Hopefully, he can perform. And we haven't even seen anything of Lainez. Here's two questions for you, and we'll close out this Lainez talk. One, should we, as an America fan base, start panicking about Lainez, not maybe potentially leaving, not getting any minutes, so on and so forth? And two, do you think Diego Lainez will even get any minutes this season?
No, I don't think we should panic about Lainez. I just
know about the minutes.
No. Yeah, he does merit minutes. I want to see this kid have minutes because we've seen what this kid can do. We've seen this kid today, even in preseason, man. Even in preseason, we've seen him stand out a little bit. Even though it was just that one Toluca game that was televised, because obviously they played a game before the Toluca game, but that one wasn't aired, and so then they go to Houston, and then that one was there against Toluca, and we see him stand out, and we've seen what he can do, and obviously, you hear this kid's name in the U17 World Cup, and who else's name do you hear from that World Cup? Now, I mean, you don't hear nobody that he's the only name that stood out throughout the whole World Cup for the national team, for the Mexican national team, and so I mean, why not? Why not give him the minutes, man? But no, I mean, overall, I don't think we should panic. He's still got time. But if you're panicking about him leaving in the summer, then yeah, then I think you should panic because I feel like Diego could possibly leave here soon.
Okay. Do you think we'll see him anytime soon?
Yeah. When I told you last night, I kind of had money on him to start tomorrow, but then I realized he's with the U20 team, so getting ready to play Brazil. So I mean, obviously not tomorrow, not Saturday, but I don't know. I feel like maybe once we clinch a spot in the playoffs, I feel like Miguel Herrera will be like, okay, let's play the kid.
Because it's interesting that we're getting to that point of the season where we don't really have opponents where you can give Lainez the opportunity to do what he has to do without having to jeopardize the result at hand. Because we're getting to the stage where semifinals of the Concachampions, and then we're getting up against some very, very tough opponents. We have Toluca, then we have Cruz Azul. Who do we have after Cruz Azul? We have
not Santos, is it?
No, we have Necaxa. So I could potentially see him. I would like to say I could potentially see him against Necaxa, but to be honest, Necaxa is playing really good at this point of the season. And away over there, it's not going to be easy either. So I don't really see him featuring in that game either. Then you have Monterrey. No, he's not going to feature against Monterrey coming off the bench. Maybe that's a huge maybe. And then you have a game against Puebla away, which is maybe the one matchup where he can actually start, and you can be like, okay, because it's Puebla. Although Puebla, granted to them, they've had a very good season, and you can definitely see them actually coming and opposing America to have a really good game. And then you have the last game of the season before you start the Liga, which is going to be against Santos. Again, another really good team this season that I don't think Pio Herrera is going to want to put Diego Lainez in the starting lineup. So potentially there's only one game of the season left for Diego Lainez to kind of maybe start, and that's against Puebla. And that's not until April 20th.
And it is also that point of the season too where I'm not necessarily calling out any teams. I'm not for sure about points, but it's also that point of the season where fourth place is like 5 points away from like 13th place. It's that thin too. So I mean, it's cutting it really close. But I just feel like if we can lock up a playoff spot pretty soon, I feel like he at least come off the bench.
And I think that's what Piojo said he's always wanted to do. He wants to secure that playoff spot before anything else. Because he knows he has Concachampions coming up, and that's a priority. Because they asked him about how important was it that he has this kind of unbeaten record, and he said, the record means nothing to me at this point of the season, and it will mean nothing to me if we do not get a title. He says, we are contending and we are fighting for 2 championships, the Concachampions and the Liga MX title. He says, if I do not get a title at all, then this unbeaten record means nothing. And I think if your coach comes out and tells you that, it shows what the mentality is, not only around the club, but what also is being displayed to the players.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, people keep saying, oh, we're unbeaten. But what have we won yet? We haven't won nothing, Yeah, I mean, I'll still go around and be like, oh, yeah, we're still unbeaten. Like, we haven't lost a game. But really, what have we won? We haven't won nothing here. We haven't really shown that merit to why we're unbeaten. We're still contending, like you said, like Piojo said too. So right now, really it means nothing at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Pio Herrera would agree with us too if he was listening to the podcast, which I hope he does. I hope someone in America is like, hey, look, there's an English podcast. Do you want to listen to it? And Pio's like, yeah, put it on while I eat. And and he's listening to us. Maybe. Probably not. But that wraps it up for this segment of the podcast. Now we're going to move on into what is the Concachampions. Hopefully Diego Lainez is able to get himself a couple of minutes. And really, we thought this was going to be the time to get him minutes. The last, which was around the 16, and the quarterfinals. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case. But now we need to focus on Tauro FC. Now, we're going to give you guys a little bit of a backstory. Of course, you guys know it. Last week, we weren't able to really live tweet or even preview the game because, of course, we had everything going on with the Clásico Nacional. We were over there with the Chivas del Norte people who, again, thank you for coming out. So we kind of pushed that to the side. We didn't want to. We felt bad about it. But ultimately, I think that's what we decided was the best for the podcast. But we're back. We're definitely going to be previewing this game because I think it's a very important one. Even though people say it's not as important as maybe all these other matchups going on, but I still think it's important because we're going to see a couple of players maybe tell Pio Herrera, look at me, put me in the starting 11. I'm here to do a good job. And 2 players stand out that maybe will need to have an amazing performance to kind of, cement themselves in the starting position. 1 being Edson Alvarez, and 2 being Henry Martin. We'll talk about the lineup in a little bit, but let's first talk about the first leg. Now, first leg ends in a 4-0 victory. Dylan, I'm not so sure. Were you able to catch somewhat of the game? I know that you, after the podcast, you were doing some stuff too for school, so you weren't 100% on there.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I just I was kind of one of the main reasons too. We did it on the Tuesday with my school scheduling and everything I had going on that week. I couldn't really move it, so we had to stick with the time. So I apologize, but let's see. I caught it whenever it was about the 50th to the 60th minute. up until the end of the game, which I was able to catch. So I caught about that much, and you know, really, I can't really say much to the team because I wish I saw the whole thing, which I wasn't able to see the whole thing. And so I think the team did pretty well. Don't really remember the lineup that well, but I think the team performed pretty good against Dado. With it being a home game too, which granted, even though it was a Tuesday night game, I still think we played good. Now, I can't really speak to it that much more, Ivan, to be honest with you, because like I said, I didn't watch the whole thing and I still had other stuff going on. So like my eyes were kind of like up and down, looking at my homework and looking back at the game. So, I can't really speak that much to it.
All right, now I guess I'll take over for this one. I actually had the game on while we were recording the podcast. So I was kind of, I don't know, for those of you who maybe caught on, I was kind of like going like this back and forth while some of you guys were talking, trying to multitask. I caught the first half somewhat. I'm not gonna say it was a perfect. I was able to analyze it perfectly, but what I got away from it was we score a brilliant goal from Joe Benny Corona, absolutely amazing, a screamer. But that is pretty much it. There's not really much going on. Taro Quintero looks like he's absolutely nothing, and it's the team isn't the team is lacking dynamic going forward, creativity, blah 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 blah. What we've said time and time again, because this seems to be a recurring theme that maybe we should talk about when we talk about the Toluca matchup. But the team and the match itself looked pretty dull in the first half. I mean, granted, people can attest to that. It was not the goodest. It was not the goodest. It was not the best game for America. So even the second half, was pretty dull in itself. It's not until the big boys kind of come in. It's not until Oriol Peralta comes in. It's not until Cecilio Dominguez comes in that you really see this America kind of come to life. It was 1-0 up to the 70th minute, and it takes Henry Martin to come in and score a wonderful header goal, and then Cecilio, then who is it? Then Ibarwen. So there's your 4 goals. The results will show 4-0, but it will not tell the story of the game. It actually could have been 1-1 before the half if it wasn't for Marchesin's great save. I don't know if you were able to catch that save.
No, I wasn't, but I saw the pictures of the video of it, and I was like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, like like when you talk about playing that goalkeeper spot, with whenever we go out and play pickup games, that's just like just breathtaking to me.
It is. It was a very good save, but it could have easily been 1-1. Yeah. So, the result's a little bit lying about the performance, but the result is what it is. We get that 4-0 advantage. It's what we were looking for. And now we're pretty safe to say that a lot of people are pretty safe to say that this is pretty much wrapped up and done.
Could have been 5, right? Could have been 5.
Could have easily been 6 if it wasn't for a couple of different interventions, whether it be the post, the goalkeeper, or defender. It was a pretty poor performance, but it was well rounded in the sense that we got the result that we wanted. Ultimately, 5 goals, 6 goals would have been much, much better. But now we go into Panama with a 4-0 advantage. A lot of people are writing this game as pretty much done and dusted. I am one of those people who think this game is actually, it's done. And now we're going up against them tomorrow looking for a result. Notice how I said result and not victory. Because what is a result tomorrow? A result is anywhere from a victory to a loss that is probably maybe 2 goals. That is a result for us. Even me saying that we lose this matchup tomorrow is still a result if we go through into the next round. That is a result. I feel like we're going to contest. We're going to try to fight for that game. Ultimately, though, I think we're going into this thinking we don't need to force ourselves. We don't need to go above and beyond. This is pretty much written off. All we need to do is just kind of defend, hold our position, and just hold on to the ball as much as possible. If they score 1, all right. If they score 2, okay. But that's pretty much it. I don't think it goes past that. Even if we take a loss and we still advance, I still think that's a result.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I get you. But to me, I look at it a little different. It's still a second leg. I think to get this team a little confidence, I think we still gotta perform as best as we can. Obviously, we've seen the lineup too, the supposed lineup that Piojo is gonna be using tomorrow, which is a bit interesting. I don't know if you want to talk about that here in a minute, but
Yeah.
regardless, dude. I mean, I still think the team needs to go out and perform good as well to give these players some confidence. Because like you said, we're lacking that decision making in the final third. Sometimes our shooting boots aren't there. And, I just want to see a good performance overall, no matter what. Get whatever result we can get.
But I mean, don't you think the team's gonna come out here like we won 4-0? And should we even force ourselves?
No, I mean not necessarily force yourselves. But like I think merit. We're gonna have a good game no matter what. I don't think we're gonna necessarily um park the bus that much as we think we are, as I think I am. I think the team is tomorrow, or with the formation, regardless. I still think Piojo is gonna be a little conservative, be balanced at least, going forward and defending no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Although here's the thing. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
because I think anything could happen. Because it's not necessarily comparable. I mean, look at Barcelona coming back last year whenever they were down at PSG.
You're thinking that was gonna pull off a Barcelona again?
I'm not necessarily saying I thought I was gonna pull that off, but I'm just saying like you just never know. I mean,
I feel that's the FC Dallas fan in you that is still hurt over the last round.
hey man.
There's no way that Tauro pulls off Barcelona on us. But let me tell you, I think you're right. I think we still need to go out there and perform, even though I think the players might not to. Because look, it's a very important thing that a lot of people have touched up on. Is even our good friends down at the Resaca Americanista who talked about this and on their show said it's important to get a result here because it's important that we kind of manipulate the semifinal and the final so that we play both of those at home in the second leg. It's kind of important that we kind of, because it's a weird thing that Concacaf has going on. Even though it's kind of like a knockout stage, there's still kind of points, quote unquote points, that are kind of attached to each different game. So the more you win and the more wins you have rather than the draws and losses, then it kind of scales you up on the points. And whenever the two teams meet up, whoever has said the most points kind of dictates, okay, I get to have the away leg at my home ground. So I think that's the most important part. We need to go out there and still get the victory if we want to close out the Concachampions in our home stadium.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I still feel like even if it be a 1-0 victory, I still think that could carry some weight over with some confidence from players. I mean, because like you said, the likes of players like Edson Alvarez, they got something to prove tomorrow. And so I want to see them go out and have a good performance, not just some lazy half-put-it performance, like you said, even though you think this game's put away, which, I don't really think it's necessarily put away until it's all over and said and done.
No, I get that. And it's a good thing you brought that up. I think the one player that needs to have a great performance alongside Edson is Henry Martin. If he can bag himself 1, 2, even 3 goals, wow! Can you imagine the confidence boost that's going to give Henry Martin?
Yeah, so like when going back to like I said, it's a game for players to gain some confidence, regardless if the game's put away or not. That's why I still don't really think we should take the game as lightly. And, but I mean, like I said, it could be different from the formation that supposedly leaked out. That Piojo is going to start tomorrow.
So let's talk about that. Let's go into the detail. Let's preview this matchup for tomorrow. So practically confirmed lineup. There's maybe one or two doubts at the most. But Piojo Herrera has come out and said he is going out with a 5-3-2. We have Marchesín in goal. We have Paul Aguilar or Charlie Orreantia at right back. We have Aldo Cruz at left wing back. We have center backs of Edson Alvarez, Bruno Valdez, and Carlos Vargas. In the midfield, we have Joe Benny Corona playing a little bit deeper with Willem da Silva on the right and Ibarwen on the left. Those two can actually alternate. Doesn't really matter. And up top, we're going to see Daron Quintero and we're going to see Henry Martin. Henry Martin, although it's going to be playing kind of as a lone striker in this game because Darwin is going to float around the pitch as much as possible. So, knowing that lineup, knowing how each of these players work and play, knowing kind of what Piojo's tactic is with this 5-3-2, because we said that his formation, whenever he kind of feels like he needs to be a little bit more defensive, is always a 5-3-2. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings going into tomorrow's matchup?
It feels good, like I look at this formation and the players that are in it, it seems like we said that 5-2 a little defensive more than attacking, but at the same time I feel like Piojo is going to be balanced with which players go forward, which players stay back, being able to defend, which is a good thing too as well, but kind of going back to what I said, it's I don't think regardless, it's in Panama, it's an away game, so it really shouldn't be taken lightly, which I don't think Piojo is showing with this lineup. I still think those players are going to go out and perform to the best as they can, no matter what tomorrow.
The question here is, I told you that both Henry and Edson have to have a really good game, but who is going to be our most important player going forward? Do you think it is?
Going forward, I think it's gonna have to be Barguin.
Okay, yeah, nice. I was actually thinking the same thing.
Yeah, because I feel like he's still got a lot to prove too. Given that he's new to the club still technically, and we still haven't really seen the best of him yet. So I feel like this game is a good game for him to show out too. Which at the same time it's a different formation, and so it'd be interesting to see how he plays out too as well.
Yeah, I'm on board with that too. I think he still has a lot to prove in an American jersey. He definitely needs to prove that he is worthy of a starting 11 spot. I'm not saying he's going to get it right away, but I think he's merited that. And overall, I think it's going to be him who is going to be fed a lot alongside with Daron Quintero. If those two can link up, I mean, they're both Colombian, so I think it could be a really good game for him, and hopefully, he showed against Tauro that he was up for it in the first leg. Hopefully, in the second leg, he's a little bit more up to it too. So I think, yeah, we can both agree. Ibarwen is definitely the player to move forward, and who's maybe going to be our most dangerous player. Hopefully, I cross my fingers here that Henry Martin will get himself a pretty good performance as well.
Yeah. I hope Henry Martin scores one, or even provide an assist. I think either one will be a great boost to his confidence.
So we know that the formation is going to be a 5-3-2, right?
Yes.
Tactically speaking, what do you think this team has to do in order to, what's a good way? In order for us to look good on the ball and get forward, what does the team need to do in order to get a victory? Plain and simple.
Since we're seeing this 5-3-2 and it being defensive too, man, it's going to be bound to the possession and how possession is being held and how the ball is going to get played out too as well, and distributed to the players in the midfield too as well. One thing I've always told the game's won in the midfield, and so I think this midfield can get it done, and this midfield can hold the possession and link up well with either Henry or Quintero up front.
Yeah. Someone just pointed out to us that even though they're both Colombian, Darwin and Ibarwen, that I shouldn't have put it that way because it's not Ultimate Team. So you shout out again to the people down at the Resaca Americanista. They're right. It's not an Ultimate Team, so you don't get that 9 chemistry right away, especially with two players that haven't played so much on the pitch. My only concern is that we don't know exactly what Darwin we're gonna get out there on the pitch. Is he gonna be supporting, or is he gonna be kind of like dead weight?
Yeah, no, that's one thing that kind of like worried me a little bit. How Darwin's gonna be. It kind of worried me too that if Henry would be left alone up top as a striker, and kind of like we said, we don't think Henry Martin is that type of striker yet to be playing by himself.
Yeah, I guess that's the only worrisome part. I feel pretty confident too knowing this lineup, and it looks pretty solid. And just a bit of team news too. a couple players didn't make the whole trip. It was Jeremy Menes who didn't travel. Diego Lainez, of course, as we said, was with the sub-20. Mateus Uribe is in there. Renato Ibarra, Eric Aguilera, and Oribe Peralta are also not in the squad for this matchup. So there's gonna be a lot of youth players out there actually on the bench. You kind of excited about this because I mean this is kind of quote unquote their opportunity to kind of break into the team.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see which players Miguel Herrera uses in the end, to which players that he wants to see, and what these players look like going forward into the future, whether they can fall into the plans of Miguel Herrera going into future seasons too as well. And also, one thing we kind of failed, not necessarily failed, but forgot to mention is that Carlos Vargas will be reporting to Brazil after the game too. He'll be meeting up with the U20s to play their match against Brazil. So more than likely we won't be seeing him Saturday either, which we'll probably get to later as well whenever we talk about the Luka game in a minute.
Yeah. So I mean, Carlos Vargas obviously getting called up for the sub-20 will not be featuring probably in Toluca's matchup, and he will definitely be flying out afterwards. There's a couple of players that I think can come up from the youth and actually do well. One of the players that I'm looking forward to the most, and hopefully does get some minutes tomorrow, is this kid Cordova. I think that's his last name. Looks to be like a great young talent, and hopefully, if he does come off the bench, he kind of takes it the opportunity with both hands and kind of runs with it.
Okay, yeah, I definitely. I mean, I've never heard of the kid, so I mean, I can't really tell you anything like that. So I mean, I'm definitely be keeping an eye out for him if he does make an appearance. Which by the sound like it, I hope he does now. That you give him good praise like this.
Yeah, I think, and anyone too that maybe kind of has a follow thing. Um, he definitely is he's definitely a player that can that can come in and perform pretty well. So hopefully we get to see a good result. Hopefully we get to see a good play. Hopefully we don't get any injuries. I think that's the one thing we need to avoid is any kind of injuries. Um, what are you going with as result wise? What do you think the result's going to be at the end of the day?
Um, I'm kind of in between two results. I'm thinking it's going to be either a 1-0 or 2-0 result at the end.
1-0 or 2-0? Okay. 1-0 or 2-0 sounds pretty well. Um, Tarasaka Americanista just kind of gave us a little heads up. Actually, Vargas will stay for the game against Toluca.
Yeah,
So that's pretty big news. That's pretty big news.
yeah,
And funny enough, because I thought I read on some reporter had tweeted out that he will be reporting to with the national team. Maybe he will report to national team in Mexico, or I don't really know what the case is going on. But if we do have Vargas for the game against Toluca, that's actually a really big good of news,
yeah.
especially seeing how we're gonna be down a man. Um,
Yeah, shout out to them for giving us that information.
Shout out to them. They are doing big things in Mexico. I mean, big things. I mean, if you guys don't know about them, go follow them. I mean, just absolutely amazing what they're doing. They're at the stadiums now, and they're gonna be, they're giving their insight for us sometimes in Coapa. They're in the Nido. They're in the training. They're in the facilities. Huge shout out to them. And they're doing everything we wish we could. And the only thing that sucks is we're here. We're stuck in the States.
Yeah, we're in the States and they're over there in Mexico.
Yeah, it's not like we can be down there. I mean, I would love to do what they're doing. Absolutely love. But it's great that they're doing what they're doing, and you can only imagine that things are gonna get even better from at that point. So huge shout out to them for always being in the know and for supporting us too. Because I mean, it's great to see something an organization like that so big be able to support us at the beginning stages, and hopefully we can try to idolize and imitate what they've been doing on the bigger scale as well. So huge shout out to them. And yeah, we're gonna have Vargas, so that should be good. So when we talk about it in the next segment, so you're going. What are you going? 1-0 or 2-0? You gotta give me a definite answer, man.
I'll go 2-0. I'll be
All right,
optimistic.
2-0.
Go 2-0.
All right, I'm going 3-0. We're gonna win. I'm going 3-0. And the only reason why I feel a little bit more confident is because I actually got a result right last week against Leon. So I'm pretty happy. It's 3-1. I like you so graciously made it known in Twitter that you are still up by two points.
Oh, dude, I don't
Um,
even know if that's right. I just just wanted to
wow.
point it out that you
Now I
got.
have to go back through each episode and listen. Okay.
So,
Well, let's just say it's 3-1. I am confident that America can go out there, score 3 goals. Um, I really don't see the reason why not to. We have the potential. We have the players. So I mean, let's go out there. Let's do it. Let's get the. I was gonna say the 3 points, but no, let's get the 3 goals. So and then so that way we can focus on Toluca, because let me tell you, Toluca is not gonna be an easy game by any means necessary.
no.
So before we jump into the Toluca game, we want to give a huge shout out to all of you guys for tuning in, for following us. I also want to remind you guys that if you guys miss any show for whatever reason, make sure you guys check us out on SoundCloud and iTunes. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter as well, because we'll be live tweeting everything of tomorrow's matchup as well as Toluca's matchup as well. So with that said, make sure you guys follow us at Eagle iPod and use the hashtag AguilasENG for Aguilas English short. So anything you want to add on, Dylan, about the title game?
No. I think everything's covered, man.
Everything's covered. It is. Now let's move on to the last segment of the podcast before we get to the quick Q&A. We're gonna go up against Toluca. We can't really preview this game as well as we can preview, for example, the Tauro game, because it's a little bit ways off into the future. If we didn't have the Tauro game, maybe we could give a better assessment, but we kind of don't know what's gonna happen. But let's talk about what we do know, and we do know that one, Paola Aguilar is gonna miss this matchup because of the red card. Two, we're gonna have a lot of key players rested for this game as well. We're gonna have Menes rested. We're gonna have Uribe, Renato Ibarra is gonna come back probably full healthy. Aguilera is gonna come back full and healthy. We're gonna see. I mean, no, there's no point in mentioning Linus. I don't even think he might even feature. So we're gonna have some key players actually well rested and ready for this matchup against Toluca. I'm guessing on that sense, that's got to be a positive, right?
Yeah, I think so, man. It's gonna be great to see this squad that's healthy, and basically a squad that's also almost at that we've seen at the beginning of the season too. This full squad that's been playing week in and week out, and that's something that I've kind of missed is seeing that squad. So it's good to see it going back to what it can be.
Yep. Yep. Hopefully, and then hopefully there's no injuries, and knock on wood that we don't get any injuries in Tauro, and the squad comes back healthy. I don't know how much fatigueness is going to actually play, because obviously from Mexico to Panama is not a trip from Texas to California. It's going to wear and tear on them. Hopefully there's enough recovery in there for the players. And hopefully they're up for the challenge, because let's face it, Toluca is not going to be an easy game. Let's talk a little bit about the opponents. They're coming into this game actually in pretty good form. I want to say, they beat Pumas in the last jornada. They're in third place, 21 points. So they're level with us on points. The only thing that is the only difference is that we have a plus
Oh no.
11 goal difference, and they have a plus 5. They have their star goalkeeper back in the mix with Talavera. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings coming into this matchup on Saturday, knowing that this is a very good Toluca side we're going up against? Dylan? Oh no, I think. Oh no, I think we're having a couple of. We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty here. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to roll a little bit solo here. I think knowing that Toluca's coming into this matchup, maybe I'll answer my own question in this. Maybe knowing that Toluca's coming in with a pretty good record, it kind of is a little bit worrisome, because you look at the last couple of matches. I'm just looking here, and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 victories in total in their last games in all competitions. So they have 6 wins in total. That is a much better record than what we have in the last 6 games. We have Dylan back on on the call. So all right, Dylan,
Your
maybe
own
just kind of
Wi-Fi,
answer
man.
what happened. Maybe just give us the answer. What happened?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I don't know. It just said I just lost connection. I thought my Wi-Fi went out, but it was still connected. But I'm back, so I'm just gonna stick here instead of going back on my up.
Alrighty. Well, I guess did you catch my question or no?
Uh, no, I did not catch your question.
Okay, so basically, you see this Toluca side, and then they got 21 points. They're in third place. They're doing just as good, if not better, than what we've been doing in the league. And then you see their last six matchups in all competition have been pure victories. How do you feel, knowing that coming into the Azteca on Saturday against a very tough Toluca?
Yeah, it's nervous. It's nerve wracking for me, man, because you still see how America as a team makes those mistakes, and whether it be in the midfield, whether it be in the final third, still overcomplicate those plays, in which we saw a little bit Saturday too against Leon, which is something you don't want to see. This is those things that you don't want to see from the team. Those mistakes need to be cleaned up by now. She shouldn't be making these mistakes, especially with the players that you have and the caliber of the club. I mean, those mistakes are just not acceptable.
Yep, I agree. There's still things that we still haven't been able to clean up, which is ridiculous. I mean, you're 11 now, going to be 12 games into the season. You should be a much better side than what you are at this point. Granted, this is a very good Toluca side. It's kind of a homecoming for Ruben Sambuesa in a sense. He's going to be playing up against us. You worried about him because it looks like he's finally found his mojo in Toluca.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a little nervous to see how Piojo manages somehow to cut off Sambuesa a little bit, and how he's going to go forward with that as well, and also Fernando Uribe too, who's also a good
Yeah.
player for Toluca.
Because I mean, this is the more threatening part about it. Is he Sambuesa's the one that creates, the one that kind of feeds, the one that kind of makes the magic happen. And that's why you see the players like Uribe, having such a great season because he's having the reception, the ball's being fed to him by said player Ruben Sambuesa. And you thought coming into this, well, Paul Aguilar knows him. He knows how to play against him. He can have him on lockdown. Well, guess what? Now we don't have Paul Aguilar. Here's the question: who starts in that right back position? Do we start Aldo? No, excuse me, not Aldo Cruz. Carlos Orientia, or do we start Edson Alvarez in that position, or who else could come in that and do a job against the likes of Ruben Sambuesa?
I think your best bet is probably going to be Edson, and I know people probably won't like that given the fact how Edson played against Pachuca when Aguilar was subbed off due to injury, and how bad of a game Edson had that one. So I'm pretty sure people are going to be nervous if Edson starts right there in the right back position. But I feel like it's going to be Edson because Edson's that guy that is versatile. We see him play in the center defensive role in the midfield. We've seen him play in center back, and we've seen how he can play in the right back position too when we've seen him play in the Gold Cup. So I think at the right now it's going to be Edson that's going to start in the right back position because I don't think Orienta really can play that because whenever I saw him play a little bit too, whenever it came time for him whenever he came on against Leon, I don't think he played that well. I see him a little bit get caught ball watching whenever he should be marking a player or watching a player to make sure he doesn't get in front of him. And sure enough, he did a couple of times. And, there could have been a chance. I remember one time, I can't remember what minute it was, but there could have been one time that Leon got a goal, but they didn't. And, it was because he was caught ball watching instead of watching the player he was marking.
Interesting. I want to go into this a little bit further about who's going to play in that right back position, but before that, I think maybe let's predict. Let's do starting 11 predictions. I want to hear what you think in regards to starting 11, and then I'll give you my prediction, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, we're gonna go Marchesín in goal. We're gonna have Edson, obviously. We're gonna have Valdez, Aguilera. I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I'm actually going to go Da Silva at left back.
Okay.
And then, obviously, Guido, center defensive mid. I think Uribe is going to be there, too, next to him. We're going to see Renato on the right, Pablo Jimenez, and then Cecilio, and then it's going to be Uribe up top.
What do you mean, who?
Menez is going to be playing behind Uribe, and that's it. Uribe is going to be up top.
Okay, so that's your lineup. That's what you're going with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can see that. So you're going 4-4-2. Well, 4-4-2-3-1 in a sense. I'm actually gonna just completely change it up and flip it on its head. I think we're going 5-3-2 on this one also. I think it's Marchengo in that right wing back position is gonna be Renato Ibarra. Center back is gonna be Edson Alvarez, Bruno Valdez, Eric Aguilera, and on the left back position, if it's not Aldo Cruz, I think it's gonna be Willem da Silva, like you said. In the midfield, we're gonna see Guido Rodriguez play that center defensive mid. On the right of Guido, we're gonna see Mateus Uribe. On the left, we're gonna see Cecilio Dominguez. Up top, we're gonna see the likes of Henry Martin and Oriol Peralta.
Just do a full 180 on me.
Full
Wasn't really
180 on
ready
you.
for that.
And I'll tell you why though, because it what's the most recurring thing in the world? I mean, it's Piojo switching to that 5-3-2 when it comes to the closing end of the season. Granted, we're not there yet, but it's like how how
Getting pretty
can
darn close.
how can we deal with this very threatening Toluca side? And I think his option is going to go 5-3-2 because we've seen Renato Ibarra play in that 5-3-2 before in that right wing back position. He's done pretty okay. So I'm pretty sure he prefers to have Renato Ibarra in that position rather than having Edson or an Orientia.
Yeah. I got you, man. I can understand and see that too, as well. But I don't know. I feel like we're gonna stick to what Piojo's been playing in that 4-2-3-1 formation, or I don't know. You can even see it as a 4-4-1-1 too, maybe possibly too a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that could also be a possibility too. I mean, we won't. We're definitely guesstimating at this point, really, really big time because we still need to see what happens against Auto. So many things can happen between then and now, um, and we just need to see exactly what the mentality is going into this game against Toluca. But if we were to say something in regards to the lineup, I think it's what we just kind of said. Um, who do you think is going to kind of be the key player going up against a very good Toluca side?
Mm. You know, obviously, I kind of would pick Guido at this point, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick somebody else than Guido, and I feel like it's gonna be the person, whoever Piojo decides to mark up on Sambuesa. I feel like whoever Piojo is gonna have stopping Sambuesa, I feel like that person is gonna be key. Which at this moment, we're just kind of guessing, playing the guessing game. So I can't really put a name to that at the moment, until the time comes when we see what happens after Taro and between then and whenever we see another starting 11,
Okay.
whenever it comes out
Okay.
on Friday for that game.
All right, when that starting 11 comes out, I'm gonna tweet at you, and you're gonna have to give me a name right off the bat.
I got you,
But
man.
I'm actually gonna give you a name. I'm actually gonna give you someone. I think the most important player coming into this kind of matchup against Toluca, I think our most important player, our key player, is gonna be Cecilio Dominguez. Maybe a name that maybe a lot of people were not thinking, but I think it's gonna be Cecilio Dominguez.
Yeah, I can see Cecilia being it too, because I would like to see Cecilia to keep performing the way he is right now and keeping that form going forward too as well.
All right. I think that's pretty much said and done. Obviously, I mean it's still even early to talk tactics because, like I said, it can all vary from here to then. But if it's one thing that you want to see America do Saturday, and you can't say bring your shooting boots. If there's one thing you want to see America do Saturday against Toluca that maybe we haven't done very well, it's this so far leading up to this game, what would it be?
Play the passing game. Play the simple pass. I know it's hard playing simple, but keeping that possession and playing those smart passes and not overcomplicating the play when it doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll add something to that. I want to see some more creativity going forward. Sometimes I think there's times where teams kind of sit back and we kind of just be like, wow, there's no way to get through them. When really there is a way. You just got to be a little bit more creative. And that's why I said Cecilio Dominguez is going to be the best player for us in that game because I feel like I said, Renato Ibarra is going to be a little bit more on the defensive side. So I think that Cecilio Dominguez has shown that he has creativity. He's shown that he can definitely do things phenomenal. So I think he's going to be our player that kind of has to break the lines at times. And I think that creativity needs to be shown and displayed against a very good Toluca side. Let's be honest, a very good Toluca side. Talavera's come back. He hasn't looked his best, but do you think maybe we should test him a little bit, see how he's doing?
Yeah, I feel like if you have the space and you have the possibility of shooting on target, go for it. I feel like we should test them at any time we give him, whether it be long range or a free kick or anything. We should test them no matter what.
Awesome. Awesome. I agree with you. I 100% think that we need to test him out. Um, Ultimately, I think it's gonna be a tough game, but it's gonna be a good game. Ultimately, I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't think Toluca's gonna come back and sit back. I think they're gonna try out and play out their game. I think what we need to do is do the same thing. Just go at it as soon as kickoff. Chase the game, run at them, demonstrate why we're the better side, why we are unbeaten, and kind of go out there and do our things right, and hopefully score a couple goals. Question: do you think that this could be a matchup that maybe we our kind of unbeaten run is at risk?
A little bit. I put it up there. I feel like Luca has the players and the chance of putting that at risk, and I feel like it is at risk a little bit. Given the fact that they're coming off good form as a team. I think you said 4 out of the last 5 games were wins, if I'm
Six
correct.
six wins in all competitions is their last record they
Oh,
have so far.
okay, yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but going back to what you said too, not necessarily come down to players, but Piojo too, um, playing their game, and showing why they're the best team, and Piojo also adapting to Luca too, and how they're playing too as well, and making those subs whenever they're necessary, not waiting until the last 15-10 minutes to make those subs.
And like I said, it's and at this point you need to perform and you need to get the results, even if it's gonna be ugly. I think we need to get the results. I think that's what matters the most because at this point, it's so tight up top.
I lose you now. Doing this still. Hi, Ben.
Okay, I'm back. Huge apologies for whatever just happened. Did you get locked out of the call too?
Yeah, something happened. Like you were just talking, and like your little profile right there was just like sitting there, and I couldn't hear you or nothing.
Yeah, huge apologies to every single one of you guys who are listening to this and watching this too. I have no idea what happened. No idea whatsoever. It kicked me out. It asked me for my password. I don't know what happened, to be honest with you guys. I'm so sorry. Um, but I guess maybe just kind of say again sorry for the technical difficulties. Wow, this has not been our podcast for for technology wise. Man, we apologize for that so much. So much. Um but I go back to what I was saying. Um, you know, it's very tight at the top right now. I mean, America is at 21 points, so is Toluca. You see Santos is at 23 points. Tigres is also at 21 points. Morelia in fifth place is at 19, so they can easily, with a win, jump up to 22. Everything is so tight right now in the league. Everything is really tight. And like I think there is no room to slip up at this point. There is no room to slip
Yeah,
up, even against tough oppositions like Toluca.
yeah, man. So we got to go out and play our game. Like, not worry about nothing else but our game and get the result that we need, which is a win. And basically, it feels like we got to win out. It almost feels like it. You got to make up for those draws that we had too.
Yeah, and to be honest, those draws are gonna hurt us so much come to the end of the season because I just know for a fact that we're gonna look at it and be like, wow, just if two of those draws were different, we would have been in such a different place. And I hope the team proves me wrong. I hope the season proves me wrong. But man, you can kind of feel that those draws really are gonna be hurting us.
Yeah, man. So I mean, that's 8 points right there that we dropped. So
Man, can you imagine? Well, I don't want to imagine because then I'm gonna get sad, and I don't want that because it should be a happy time because we're coming to the point of the stage where I think we're gonna see a very good team performance. Maybe not on the pitch all the time, but a very good collective effort for us to get the results. I think that's the most important part. I think at some point in the season we're gonna have to throw out playing really good, attractive football out the window and focus on getting the result. And I think that's going to be the more important part. And that's going to be a little bit, once we get to April, I think that's when we're going to be, seeing more of that than rather good football being displayed on the pitch.
yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just how we're closing the season now, and I mean, just like I said, I'll say it again. Just worrying about our game. Just worry about nothing else, man. Just worry about our game because we know we can do it, and we have the squad, we have the depth, and that's all we got to worry about, man. Is our game. Is if we just stick to worry about our game, man, look out for one another, then we can finish the season out good.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. So, last question in regards to this Toluca. What is your score prediction for this?
I'm gonna go 3-2 for America.
Wow, you are putting up a really good game. Okay, 3-2. Man, I'm gonna have to go with like a 7-2 or something like we were talking about the last podcast when America beat Toluca in the Estadio Azteca. But no, I'm actually gonna go plain and simple here. I think we get a 1-0 victory at home.
Okay.
It's gonna be dull, it's gonna be tough to watch, but I think we get the result. We're gonna have to grind it out. I think that's gonna
Yeah,
be the end
you
result. But
really are, but we'll get the result.
I'd rather prefer mine than yours because I feel like maybe we'd be like 2-up and then they get the equalizer and then we get like another goal late and I'm just gonna be panicking the whole time and I don't want to do that. My blood pressure is high enough as it is. I don't want to mess it even worse. Um
Uh,
so that pretty much does it for the Toluca game. We'll definitely maybe talk a little bit more about it once we get closer to it on Twitter. Who knows? Maybe we might bring an emergency pod. Who knows? It's up there. But pretty much that does it. Anything else you want to add on about the Toluca game?
bring your shooting boots. That's it.
Never fails. Bring your shooting boots. The point where we can stop saying that in this podcast is when we're at that level where we're playing well, we're performing, and we're finishing, and there's nothing to complain about except
Yeah,
maybe
man,
Diego Lainez
definitely.
minutes. Alrighty, all right. So let's move on into the Q&A section of today's podcast. That does it for the Toluca last segment of the show before we wrap everything up. I want to kick things off with a Twitter question. The only Twitter question we got, I tweeted out that we were podcasting. If any of you guys had a question, make sure to tweet us. For future podcasts, make sure you guys tweet us at Eagle iPod and make sure you guys send in your questions. For those of you guys that are watching live right now, send in your questions as we're reading and answering this one, and we'll get to them. I know there's a couple that I saw right now that we can talk about. So let's go to the Twitter one. It's at Garrett R. Kerber. Excuse me if I'm butchering your last name, Garrett. Garrett says or asks, better yet, is America's place in the table due more to the strength of America or to the struggles of the other top sides? 5, 6, and 0 is a little underwhelming, but no defeats have to count for something. Hashtag Aguilas. English, Dylan, what are your thoughts? Do you think America's place at the table is due to their own merit, or is it maybe that there's been a lack of, for better word, for a better lack of term, is it due to the fact that the other teams are struggling and maybe not doing their best?
I think it could come out to both, really. And America's had their fair share of struggles too, given the fact, like we've talked about it again. We see the same mistakes. We see them overcomplicate plays. We see them, not finishing the opportunities. And so, to a sense too, we see the squad that we have, and we see the depth that we have, and so that reflects too back to the results we've gotten too. And there were also other times too where teams struggled against us too, because the likes of like Guido Rodriguez and Bruno Valdez, stepping up and doing big things and great things that they do. And going back to like whenever me and you praise Bruno, because how good he did locking down Nico Castillo in the Pumas game, so we've seen what the team can do, and we've also seen other teams struggle due to the fact that we've had those players stand out too as well. But we, going back to like I said, those 4 draws in a row, they kind of hurt us in the end due to the fact that we've had our share of struggles too, whenever it comes to those teams too. So I feel like it's a sense of both, not really one or the other, just a combination of both, and our share of struggles too as well.
Okay, interesting. I'm actually going to give this full credit to us. I think the reason why we're in where we're at is because of us. I think it's tied at the top, like I mentioned previously. I think every team at this point has done things pretty well. I don't think I've seen a Liga MX so tight as before in as recent times. Uh, Only because everything is just 2-3 points off. Really, it's that close. You have one bad game, and that could be detrimental to your season. That could ultimately kill you for the playoffs if you lose one game, because now you're playing catch up and the other teams are ahead of you. It's ridiculous. So I think we've merited to be there because of our own standings. And like I've always said, the only reason why we're not higher in the table is because of us. It's not because of any other oppositions. It's not because of a referee call. It's not because of this. It's not because of that. It's because we of ourselves maybe have not done enough to push up and get those 3 points when we do get a draw. And when we have one, I think hats go off to us because we've done good enough to get the results. So I think, Garrett, to answer your question, ultimately I think it's due to our strengths and not really to anything else. Granted, you can talk about Tigres maybe having a slow start, Monterrey too, not really having the brightest of starts. Santos, of course, look like they actually do have a really good thing going. So I think ultimately they, we'll let them worry about themselves and we'll worry about us, because I think what we're doing is actually really, really good. And I think the reason why we're there is because of what we've been doing so far.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I understand that too. Yeah, I agree with that too.
Alrighty. Well, huge shout out to Garrett, new fan to the Liga MX, and chose to be fan of the biggest and best team in Mexico. So a huge shout out to you, Garrett. If you're listening to this live or if you're listening to this afterwards on iTunes or SoundCloud, huge shout out to you for the question as well. Now we're gonna move on to another question. Mari Alonso has asked us, if America is in the final, what team would they be facing? What do you think?
I like to see America Santos game.
America Santos game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. America Santos game. I like that. I think that'd be actually a really good matchup. So, you know, I think yeah, I would like to see, yeah, if it's not America Santos, maybe um I'm hesitant to say America Tigres because I want to get kind of revenge on what they did to us last Christmas. Um But you know what? I'll go with you. I'll go America Santos. I think that'd be actually a really good final. And I think Oriol Peralta and Marchesín may be a little bit pumped up to play against their former team. I don't know, you know. So I'm going with
Just
that too.
down.
I'm going America Santos.
Okay. Yeah.
Alrighty. So thank you again, Mari Alonso, for giving us that huge shout out to you as well for always coming by the podcast and talking to us. I got another question. Let's see. I had it right here. Literally right here. Wow, where'd it go? I have no idea. Okay, well, as I maybe try to, well, it wasn't really a question, but maybe we can still incorporate it to that. Um, Shout out to It's Not Hip Hop, It's Electro. Great name, by the way. Great name. Says that he thinks Edson has earned the starting spot, that Emmanuel Aguilera looked a little shaky against Chivas. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean Edson had the spot, and then you get Aguilera, and Aguilera you play Aguilera, and like off the back, so it sucks to see Edson on the bench, not getting as much minutes as me and you probably agree on. Think he deserves, and so I think this Aguilera situation with him being injured, I think I know this sounds bad, but I think it's good for Edson to see Edson stand down and show that he still got it, and Edson does Edson things over and over again, which is always a good thing. And so I think it's just a reminder to Piojo that hey, I'm here. You can rely on me whenever you need me, and it's kind of hard to say because it really sucked watching this kid just go to the bench and just it just seemed like giving Aguilera the starting spot right away. I know I'm not really touching on the fact that Aguilera looked shaky probably against Chivas, but as people have heard on the pod, I mean, you pretty much advocate for Edson a lot too as well, and especially me. But I don't know. I mean, either player, it's just good to see that we have that depth too with Edson, knowing Edson's there. If anything would happen to Aguilera and Valdez, which I guess you could say we've seen two since Aguilera's down, we're seeing Edson step up now, and Edson getting the start, which is good for him. And like you said, against Dado tomorrow, he's got something to prove, which I hope he does, which I think he will do, and prove to Miguel that he's still there and that he deserves more minutes than what he's getting right now.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think Edson's merited maybe a starting spot. But I mean, you can't really say no to Aguilera, who's had a great partnership with Bruno Valdez. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. Granted, this game against Tauro is going to be important. If he does go with a 5-3-2 against Toluca, maybe that even showcases that hey, who's going to be the two center backs going forward. So interesting enough, I don't really have an answer to that. I think it's still up in the air for me. I think Aguilera has kind of more of you know things going in his favor. But in the end, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Edson, so much talent, so much, drive at times to win that starting position.
Yeah, I mean, I get you, man. I got it too, but I don't know. To me, I just feel like I didn't hit on the Aguilera situation a lot, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to really, really pick at this moment. With like you said, Aguilera and Bruno Valdez having that good partnership too. But I feel like either one, Edson could have a good partnership with either one too as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, I think that does it for questions. We didn't get any more after that. So, thank you again for those of you guys who sent in our questions. Make sure you guys always do so whenever we tweet it out. I can't stop saying this because it's so important that you guys follow us on Twitter at Eagle Eye Pod. We have you guys covered with everything in regards to news, team news, player news, regardless of everything that's going on. Make sure you guys do stay tuned for that. Dylan, anything else you want to add on to the show?
Not necessarily what we talked about today, but guys, please, we apologize. Please bear with us whenever we have these difficulties. I mean, especially the live shows. Like I'm pretty sure Ivan cuts it out whenever he goes back and drags the audio and before he uploads it to SoundCloud and
I'm gonna leave this one in this, so I can be like, this was Dylan who did the editing. And you guys can blame him.
Oh, gosh, man.
I'm kidding. But man, it's gonna be difficult to edit that one because I mean, because then people are just gonna hear like, "Oh, we're back," and they're gonna be like, "Wait, what happened?" So I don't know. I'll do some transition or something, or let them know ahead of time. But yeah, thank you guys. Please bear with us when we do have these technical difficulties. I don't really know what happened there. My router was working, your router was working. I mean, so it's I maybe it was maybe it was a government. Maybe they don't want the Eagle Eye podcast to be live and doing such a wonderful job at commentating nonsense. So
The Mandela effect.
the Mandela effect. No, it's not the
No, I'm just
Mandela
kidding.
effect.
No,
What are you
it's not.
talking about? This is not us remembering something that we
I,
clearly think happened. No,
I,
no.
I
You need
just
a new
think, I just
theory.
think it's
You
funny
can't
because
be.
I've been saying it a lot.
You were saying there was a Mandela effect halfway through our pro clubs journey yesterday, and I looked up the definition. There was no need to use it. So you need a new. We need a new theory. Maybe you can have your own. It could be the Dylan effect.
Probably.
The Dylan
I
effect.
wouldn't
We're gonna
doubt it.
make it happen somehow. I don't know. Um, we're gonna trademark it. We're gonna sell it on T-shirts, and it's gonna be a huge hit. Um, but yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. This is the show, guys. Again, thank you guys so much for bearing us. We it's a little embarrassing when these things happen, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got all these fans waiting for us, and then it happens, and they're wondering like, what's going on.
Yeah, it
So,
was like, why is Ivan on a rectangle camera and why is Dylan on a standing Snapchat filter camera? It's
just for real.
it's difficult for us to even answer, guys. Again, we apologize. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, thank you guys for all the support that you guys have given us. This has been episode 11 of the Eagle Eye podcast. Make sure you guys tune in. If you guys ever miss a show, like I've always stated, make sure you guys follow us on iCloud and SoundCloud as well. Wow, not even iCloud. Sorry, iTunes. Oh my God, today has not been the day for me to host.
Oh
Uh,
man.
I'm so sorry, guys. I will get my stuff together, and I will come back better. But again, make sure you guys follow us on those platforms. You guys will never miss us. Take us on the road, and make sure you guys follow us on Twitter as well. Like I keep stating. Thank you, Dylan, for coming out and making the time to talk to us and to give us your opinion.
Hey man, it's always a pleasure. Just doing this is the fun, guys. Just just the difficulties, the technical difficulties is something that's not the fun part.
It is not. It's not. We need to get an IT department going. It's
Yeah, we need to.
an IT department. I think my 6-year-old nephew can definitely do it. So we'll hire him. We'll pay him in candy. I think that would be a fair trade. Um, so make sure you guys tune in to the next episode. We'll be back next week as always. Who knows? Maybe we'll make an emergency pod if we feel like it's necessary. If you guys want it as well. So make sure you guys tune in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for everything. We'll see you guys on the next episode. And until next time, guys, take care and. Arriba la América, like always. Bye, guys.